If you are new here, this is the most beginner friendly complete web development course, and these are some of the projects we will be covering in this course. I upload lots of lessons per week, so please subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss any of them. I respond promptly to comments, so if you want to ask or say something, feel free to drop it in the comments. If you missed any of the previous lessons, the link to the entire playlist is down in the description box. Let's get started. Before you get started, there's some settings we need to quickly change, alright? So go down to the settings, click this button, and then select settings. Now when you come here, I want you to search for format on save, but you can just type format and then the option should come up. Alright, so there will be a long list here. It will most likely be on the first page, but if you don't find it on the first page, you can go down and find it. Now this is what you are looking for, format on save. I want you to make sure that this one is ticked like I have here, okay? So if it's not, please take it. Right. What this does is that when you are using Prettier, we already installed Prettier. So when you are using Prettier, it formats your code for you. Now this makes sure that as soon as you save the code, Prettier does its work. All right. Without this on, Prettier might not be able to do its work very well. So make sure you turn it on. Now your settings might look something different. It might look a little different from this. It might look something like this. Okay. So you may find something like this. When you do find something like this, instead of searching for format on save, you can search for toggle format on save as you like you see here, or just format on save. I'm sure you just it will be the same. Now this is what you are looking for, editor.format on save. Okay, I want you to make sure this is changed to true. Okay, change this to true. If you have any trouble in doing this, let me know in the comment box and I'll see how I can help you through it. In this lesson, we'll be looking at HTML. So go ahead and open your VS Code and let's write some code. Okay, actually, before we go ahead and write some code, there's one very important thing for programmers, that is to be organized. It is super important. I can't overemphasize that. You have to have your files organized. Your code itself has to be organized. So what you would normally do is that before you start any project at all, you should have a folder for every project. Okay, so what you are going to do for this course is that I'm going to quickly create a folder on the desktop right here, and then we are going to call the code folder busy code. You can name yours whatever you wish. So you go ahead and open the folder. So now every file that you are going to create is going to come into this folder. But even inside the folder, we must have a folder for each project. Okay, for now we are not doing projects, so we are just going to be looking at some random files, so we won't really need folders right here for now. Okay, so we can now go ahead and open our Visual Studio Code and then start writing some code. So once you've opened your Visual Studio Code like this, you want to go and find the folder where you want to store your files. So you go to File. Okay, so if you are using Mac, it's up here. You click on File and then you go to Open. And if you are using Windows 2, you see the File button up there, and then you click and then it opens your File Explorer for you, and then you go find your file wherever it is. Mine is on the desktop, so I'll go to desktop, and then there's the file. I'll open it. All right, so as you can see, we don't get anything here because there's actually nothing in our folder yet. So this is our busy code folder. So what you do is that you right click here and you go to new file. Okay, so you name your file whatever you wish, but for now I'm going to name it my first code.html. Alright, so as you can see, this .html over here is super important. Okay, it's called a file extension, just like all other files have extensions. So a PDF file will have .pdf. So this .html is the extension for HTML files. You can actually make it .htm too, so it's either .html or .htm. But then I usually prefer using .html. There's no big deal of a difference. Okay, so why I said it's very important, especially for the code editor, is that it helps the code editor to help you, right? So once the code editor knows you are writing your code in HTML, it gives you some suggestions. It helps you finish some lines as you write them. Okay, so as you can see, when I saved it as HTML, it gave me this file. Let me try saving it as something else. You see it will give me a different icon. Sorry. So if I say something.js, You see the icon it gives me, means it recognizes that I'm working with a JavaScript file. So you won't actually create this file. So once you've created your file, you can hide this one by pressing the button like that. Okay, so for each HTML file, every file has a similar structure. Okay, so as we've already mentioned, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it basically describes the content of the website. So everything in a website is produced by HTML, the content. So there isn't any website out there that exists without HTML. It's the basic building block of every website. So it consists of a series of elements, which we'll be talking about to explain later what elements actually mean. Okay, so these elements are what describe the content of the web page. All right, so let's look at the basic structure of an HTML file. So this is actually called the boilerplate code. Okay, you use it all the time, right? So pay attention. So the first line is what you call doc type. Okay, so as you can see, because I named it as HTML.html, the code editor actually recognizes that the first line I need is this doc type HTML. So I don't need to actually type it. I can just press enter and then it will provide it for me. So this doc type HTML is the first line for every HTML file at all. Okay, so it just tells the code editor that, oh, this is an HTML file, right? Okay, the next line is what you call an HTML element. So this is like the root element. Everything you are going to write, all the rest of all the HTML code is going to lie within this HTML element. The next one would be the head tag or the head elements. Okay, I mentioned tag. What tags are these? One is a tag, that one is a tag. All these are actually tags, right? So for every element, okay, we have three different parts, and I'll talk about that later. But for now, you should know that this opening head tag and there's a closing head tag. So they wrap contents, they wrap whatever is within them. All right. The next tag or the next element would be the body. All right. So this looks like something you'd recognize, right? So you have a head and you have a body. All right. So inside the body, you have some special elements that actually do not display on the website, but they tell the browser how to process your website. The most common one is this title tag, which will always be there. Okay, actually, before we go ahead, let's launch our live server so that we see what we are doing. So you can right click and then choose open with live server. Okay, so this is our live server launching for us. So just to make it nicer so that we can see everything that's going on, I'll make this smaller and then put the live server on the side. Okay, so we currently don't have any content at all on our website. That's why this whole page is empty. Okay, so I was showing you what the title tag is. The title or the title element. The title element is what gives you the name that appears in the browser tab right over here. So when I change what is here and I save, you see this thing here change. Okay, so let me call it first HTML and then I save. Did you see that? All right, so to save you can just press Ctrl S, right? Now inside the body, that's where the content of the website itself is entered. So everything you want to put on the website itself comes inside the body element. Okay, so a very quick example would be a heading. So we'll talk about headings in details but for now you should know that there's a heading element. Okay, so let me just see my very right. So once I save, you see it appear here. Okay, so this a heading element. The H actually represents heading. So there's heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. We'll talk about all that later. But I said I will explain I will explain the parts of an element. So you have this is a complete element. It has the opening tag, and it has the content, and then it has finally the closing tag. So you can see the difference between the opening and closing tag is this /. Okay, that's the difference between an opening and then a closing tag. So another quick example of an element would be a paragraph element, which is represented by the P. So you can just let me just put in some gibberish here. All right. So you're probably wondering how I quickly got all this gibberish stuff to be pasted there. So you type this lorem, LOREM, and then you press enter, and then it will give you all that, right? But if you want to limit them, as you saw me do, let me quickly go back. You see I put some 20 here. That 20 tells the editor that I want 20 words. So if I make it 10, say 10, it would give me only 10 words. You see this one is much shorter. So you just type LOREM plus the number of words you want, and then you press enter, and then it does that for you. So if I save, so as you can see here, this is a paragraph element. Sorry. Okay, so this is the basic structure of an HTML file, and we'll be looking at other structures as we go along, other elements, other tags, and all sorts of concepts as we go along. This is a wonderful start. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. I am actually very excited about this journey, and then I hope you are ready to go on this journey with me. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.